Some rapid fire questions sort of to finish off the conversation, just some quick things because a theme I hear a lot from you, and you've said it even in today's podcast, is, do what suits you. And there's no one exact right way. And even at the top level, you see the example you gave before, the top three swimmers all have slightly different styles. And so it's finding what works for you. But I want to know, do you have any recommendations on these kind of certain topics I'm about to say as to what people should do? So, for example, kick beat. Do you have a recommendation for triathletes from sprint distance right up to Ironman on should it be two kick beat or four? And I wouldn't think six ever, but do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, a 4-beat kick can be faster than a 2-beat for a lot of people, but it just takes a bit of practice to be able to get that. I think most people with a wetsuit on naturally gravitate to 2-beat. And yeah, but I think a 4-beat can usually help. Can help people go a bit quicker. And it's for those listening, it's like 1 kick on one stroke and then 3 on the other. So it's a bit unusual. But I've found with a lot of the guys I've worked with that's worked very well for them.
And then breathing, another one. Probably every 4 was too much, but every second or third recommendation.
Yeah, every second or third is usually best for most people. I find that particularly the females who often have a faster cadence, sometimes they prefer a 3 because they've got a faster cadence, and if they breathe every 2, they feel like they're breathing too much, they're hyperventilating. So just find what you can sustain, but the most important thing is you get enough air in.
And then on that note, something I personally do is I'll breathe on every 2 most of the time, and I'll breathe on one side and I'll change it up frequently. So I'll do all on the left and all on the right. But I notice a lot of the pro swimmers seem to stick to the same side, and that's their style. Do you have a recommendation on it? Is either one of those better, especially as more of an age group, an amateur triathlete?
Yeah, I think it's good to breathe the other side. In the racing, a lot of them will usually, if they're breathing every 2, they'll just breathe to the one side only. But if you were to watch them in training, they'd swap sides pretty regularly. And in the 10K, for example, they're all definitely breathing to both sides because it's a lot of load on one arm, and often your neck will get a bit sore too. So I think it's great to mix it up. I'm similar. I'll do 40% of my session to one side and about 60% to the other.
How often are you changing it up yourself?
Just depends on what I'm doing. So if I've got a set where we're sort of working hard, I'll try and either do like, if in a 50-meter pool, like breathe left halfway down and then breathe right for the next. Or if I'm, sometimes breathe every 3, I mix it up a bit depending on what I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. And last kind of unique one, would you recommend triathletes ever change up the stroke they do in training? So incorporate any other stroke to mix up in the training, or is it just going to be a bit of a waste of time for the sake of variation and just stick to freestyle?
Yeah, I think it's a hard one, isn't it? I mean, I think backstroke's good to do just to give the arms a bit of a rest and move them in the other direction. So I think backstroke's great for some recovery. Fly can be good for developing a bit of strength as well. So I find that can be useful. And if you are mixing up with the other strokes, sometimes you will find that you do develop a bit better feel for the water because you're doing these different strokes. But I wouldn't say it's a requirement to swim fast as a triathlete. So it's each your own. If you like doing the other strokes, then go for it. But if you want to do butterfly, start with fins because it's a hard one to do without if you're new to it.
Perfect. And one of the last ones I wanted to ask is what is the most common questions you've been asked recently that you're getting from most people online or in your membership or even at your clinics?
You probably asked most of them actually. Like breathing's a huge one. A lot of people always ask about like fingers together or apart. So that's a really common one. And the answer there is you don't want a really stiff and tight hand. A bit of a gap between the fingers is fine, and just keep the hand somewhat relaxed. And you will have probably seen that if you saw any slow-mo footage of the Olympians. It's like a lot of the times their fingers are somewhat apart because they're very relaxed. And the amount of force that they're applying on the water, it's hard to keep the fingers completely closed. So that's probably the most common one that I get.
The other one that I wanted to ask was the equipment in training. And being at your clinic, you had the snorkel and mask and flippers and hand paddles, pull buoys. Tell us about that and how you see that fitting into a training session.
Yeah, we use fins a lot in warm up. So when I'm normally training, it's in the morning, it's cold, and I haven't had a chance to warm up basically or move. So whenever I'm training and I'm setting the sessions, we'll do about 600 meters of fins just to ease the shoulders into it. So I really like that for early mornings. I also like it for drills, because a lot of the drills that we do are kick based, and that way you don't need to worry if you can't kick. If you go backwards when you normally kick, fins will just give you that little bit of propulsion. Snorkel's really good for taking the breathing out of it. So probably the most common thing that causes faults in the stroke is the breathing, because people look too far, they'll look behind them, and it will mean that their catch or their rotation is off a little bit. So I think a snorkel can be great for just allowing you to focus on what's happening in the water. And then in terms of the other gear, pull buoy, paddles, ankle strap, ankle band, I think that stuff can be great for building strength and practicing swimming almost like you've got a wetsuit on. So that stuff is great for triathletes. And with that, I think I've seen a couple of pull buoys that have got really wide middle sections. And there's a type of pull buoy called the Eenie buoy or Eenie buoy that's got a really narrow one. And there's some other ones out there as well. But I think it's important to have a reasonably narrow midsection for the pull buoy, because if it's super wide, and I've seen some of is it hoob or hub? Hoob? It's like really wide there. And so your legs kind of stay out here, and it doesn't allow you to switch your core, like use your core, squeeze your glutes together a little bit. Doesn't allow you to do it because it's so wide. So if you've got something super wide, try something narrower and just see how you feel with it. So I've seen that a little bit recently. So I just wanted to bring it up and let people know that it might be a bit easier with the narrower one.